there, how's it going? It's Miffed Digital here. My name is Luke, and welcome back to my very basic introduction series to Source Filmmaker. In the last episode, we looked at how to select multiple bones, selecting multiple objects, and we also looked at the rotation modes available so we can choose how we rotate multiple things when they're selected. And in today's episode, we are going to be looking at how to set up cameras in Source Filmmaker. A camera is what you're going to see in the final result. So if you're making an image or an animation, then what the camera sees is what you are going to see when you export it. Let's get right into it. We are back to our guy who is standing in the middle of a desert, looking a little bit worried. Maybe he lost his microphone, maybe he forgot his camera to do his vlogging or TikTok or whatever. And we are going to choose what angle we want to see him from. So let's actually start by adding or accessing our camera. If we go down here to where it says work camera, if we left click on that, then it will switch to camera 1. Camera 1 is our camera. If you can't access camera 1 like that, then you could go to this little drop down menu here, go to where it says change scene camera, and you should be able to left click on camera 1 there, which is for some reason not letting me go there. Okay, camera 1. If you don't have camera 1 there as well, then you can hit new camera and then camera 1 should be appearing here. Now I want to highlight something real quick. The camera that you are looking through is the camera that you see down here. So if you left click here and it says camera 1, then that means that camera 1 is what we are looking through. You might be thinking to yourself, what is the difference between work camera and camera 1? To put it simply, camera 1 is what you're going to see in the final result. So like I mentioned earlier, if we exported my phone making a sound, apparently that'll show me for not putting it on silent or at least vibrate while I'm recording. But no, with camera 1 down here active, if you were to look at this character from this angle here, let's say, and we were to export this as an animation, then this is what we are going to see in the animation. However, if we were to go into work camera and look at him from this angle, then we are not going to see this angle. If you were to export an animation, we will only see what camera 1 sees. Camera 1 is the actual camera, and the work camera is used for navigating. So if you wanted to explore a map to consider what location you'd like to show next, let's say, or if you wanted to navigate the scene a little bit more, then that's basically what work camera is used for. So let's do a small task. We are going to give this guy a bottle of water because, you know, he's in a hot desert and he's probably a little bit thirsty. So we are going to go to the plus button up here, type in bottle, and we'll choose whichever bottle looks appropriate. I personally want to use this blue bottle here. I think it captures the feeling of thirst well. It has that blue and green look to it, you know, and this guy is in the desert, so I think it's quite fitting. So I'm going to add that in. I'm going to make sure that I'm in the motion editor, and I'm going to hold down control, left click on his arm. I'm going to rotate it upwards using the rotate tool. And now we have his hand in view. So I'm going to want to position his glass bottle by expanding it and expanding the body section to access the root transform of the bottle. I'm going to go to the move tool. I'm going to left click and hold and snap to his hand, and I'm going to move it up slightly. Now you might notice if you look carefully that his fingers are actually going through the bottle slightly, and we don't really want that to happen. So what we could do is that we could position it and until it looks good in camera 1, or we could go to work camera and position it more accordingly so we can get a different angle with work camera and position it until it looks like his hand isn't going through. And what we can do as well is grab his thumb, rotate it this way, so now it looks like he's actually holding the the bottle, and there you have it. Okay, let's go back to when his fingers were going through the bottle. Now, if I wanted to change camera angles purely just to stop his fingers from going through the bottle, so I want to keep this camera angle that I have in camera 1. I don't want to change that camera angle. However, if I needed to change camera angles to stop his fingers from going through the bottle in this case, and I changed the camera's angle while still having camera 1 active. And if I just did the adjustment there, then this means that I have now lost the camera angle that I set up, which was this camera angle here, all because I wanted to stop his fingers from going through the bottle. So it's important to make sure that when you are switching camera angles, is this the camera angle for camera 1, which is what the final result of the project is going to look like, or is this going to be using the work camera? So the different angles you are looking at is not what camera 1 is going to see in the final result. Hopefully that came out okay. Now we are going to look at multiple ways we can add a camera. So right now we have camera 1 selected down here, but you may have noticed that we are not actually seeing camera 1 at all here in the animation set editor. Remember, the animation set editor is where you usually add things, so models, lights, even cameras. But we are actually seeing camera 1 in the animation set editor. Why is that? If we were to go to the plus button up here, which is where we add most things in Source Filmmaker, if you were to click here and then go down to where it says create animation sets for existing elements, then it will come up with this little window. And camera 1 will appear here. I think that's because it's an element that exists, but it isn't appearing in animation set in the animation set editor, so it's appearing here instead. So we are going to left click on camera 1 and then left click OK, and now we have camera 1 over here. I also want to highlight that camera 1 is appearing in this cameras folder because if I right click anywhere in the blank space that's underneath the animation set editor, then you will see that I have show scene hierarchy checkbox. If I uncheckbox that, then you will just see camera 1 below the models that you might already have. By default, show scene hierarchy is off, but I personally like to have it on. It just makes things easier to organize that way. So I'm going to have that there, and if I go here, then camera 1 is right there. Now I want to point out that because camera 1 is now in the animation set editor, if I was to try and move camera 1 without having it selected in the animation set editor, then it won't let me move camera 1 even though I have camera 1 activated. I also want to point out that if you try and move it in the clip editor as well, so I was in the graph editor, now I'm in the clip editor. If I was to try and do that with camera 1 selected, it would not let me move it, and it especially wouldn't if I didn't have it selected. So that's also something that's good to keep in mind as well. There is another way we can add cameras though. So let's imagine that we don't have any cameras whatsoever. Let me just get out of that camera view. So we have, you can't delete the animation set for the current camera. I wonder why. But let's imagine that we don't have any cameras whatsoever, like we only have work camera or no camera. We go to the drop down, there's no cameras whatsoever. Let's say if you wanted to add a camera directly into the animation set editor, how do we do that? We will again go to this little plus button and we will hit create animation set for new camera. And then it will give you camera 1, or in this case camera 2, directly into the animation set editor. I want to clarify that the only reason we're seeing camera 2 here is because I already have camera 1 down here, and so it just went from 1 to 2. Regardless on how you added your first camera, you should now have it in the animation set editor. Now, while we have this selected, we've noticed we have some sliders down here. So if we go to the right of the animation set editor and then go down, we see this little dial. And then right below this dial, we have sliders that are appearing here. And these sliders are for whatever we have selected. Right now we have the camera selected, so we get access to the sliders that are attached to camera 1. You could see as the camera settings, we have field of view. So if we were to drag field of view to the left, it will zoom in. If we drag field of view to the right, it will zoom out. And I also, just going to undo that real quick with Control Z. And I also want to say that if we left click and hold in the viewport while we have camera 1 selected here and here, and if we scroll down on the middle mouse wheel, then it will zoom in, and if we scroll up on the middle mouse wheel, then it will zoom out. So that's also something that's good to keep in mind. You can also do that with our work camera as well. Below this we have focal distance. I rarely touch this because you only see the results of focal distance once you actually export the animation or the image. I personally don't touch that, but it's good to experiment with when you know how to export images and animations. Same goes for aperture. I think aperture you can only see the effects of once you export the image or the animation. Tone map scale, if you were to turn tone map scale all the way up, then it would go really bright, and if you turn it all the way down, it would go really dark. If we're not sure what the default value was, and we couldn't undo to before we made an adjustment to any slider or shape key, then a way we can easily fix that is by right clicking on the slider that we've adjusted and hitting set to default. Was it actually that dark though? I don't think it was. Strange. This definitely wasn't the default value. I'm not sure why it set it to this. In my case, I can undo though, so I think I'm just going to undo. That was confusing. For those who are curious, the real default value of tone map scale is this number here, 0.09991. So in case you're having trouble with getting that back to default, then that's the default value. And if you'd like to type that value in yourself, you can just double click on the slider or shape key and type it in. And just to clarify, my camera ran out of space, I guess. My actual camera did, so I'm going to be using this camera for now. Hello! This always happens when I record, I don't know why. Okay, so the rest of my room's a bit of a mess actually in this webcam. Speaking of different cameras and all that. Anyways, yeah, I want to clarify that if you that you can change these sliders by left clicking, holding, and then dragging to the right and dragging to the left. I want to clarify that. Let's see what happens if we turn the bloom scale slider all the way up. It might be hard to see, but things go very blurry. If we go back to tone map scale, turn it all the way up, and then if we crank bloom scale all the way up, then things would go very blurry. And that's basically what bloom scale does. It determines how blurry things look. If we were to drag it all the way to the left, then things would be barely glowy, if glowy at all. So that's something that's good to know about. I'm just going to Control Z until I get the brightness back. And we have SSAO bias. Again, I don't really touch that. Same with SSAO strength. I don't touch these two for the same reason that I didn't touch focal distance, because that requires you to only see the results of it when you export the final result. If we have transform selected and transform selected only, then this is what allows us to move around. It doesn't allow us to zoom though, because the zoom is connected to the field of view. So if we had transform and field of view selected, then we'd be able to zoom in and out, but not if we only had transform selected only. So that's something that's good to know about. That's pretty much all there is to know about the camera settings. I also want to highlight the importance of camera angles here. If we were to take this glass bottle again, and if we were to move it out here, let's just move it a little bit towards the camera, move it upwards slightly, and then move it to the left, then you could probably get away with saying that this guy is holding a bottle. However, if we go into work camera, then we will see that he is nowhere near to even touching that bottle. And this is actually a trick that I've used many times in my Five Nights at Freddy's, Baby Foxy, Source Filmmaker animations. It might look like someone is holding something or touching something or even doing something, but it might actually look completely different from any other camera angle. So that's something that's good to keep in mind as well. It's something that I use a lot. If we go into work camera, then we might see this little thing here basically, and that's actually the camera in the viewport is what this is. So if we were to left click camera 1 and in the animation set editor, then we can actually rotate and move the camera just like we would with any 3D model or particle or anything like that. So I've done some rotations and movements now. If I go back to camera 1, then we could actually see the changes that we've done with the animation set editor. Now finally, I want to point out the different camera angle you might get if you go from camera 1 to work camera and vice versa. So this is camera 1. If you left click on camera 1 down here, then it will toggle to work camera. And work camera is showing this angle. Let's say we wanted to see the exact same angle that camera 1 is seeing in the work camera. So with the work camera selected, with camera 1 selected even down here, if we hold down control and left click, then we are now in work camera and we are seeing exactly what camera 1 was seeing. It will also transfer the settings that camera 1 has to work camera as well. So if we were to turn the entire tone map scale all the way up so it's very bright, if we were to simply just left click on camera 1 down here, then work camera won't be bright at all, because the last time work camera was active, it wasn't showing any of that. However, if you go back into camera 1, hold down the control button and left click on camera 1 to toggle back to work camera, then this time it didn't only transfer the rotation and position of camera 1, but it also transferred all the settings that camera 1 had as well into work camera, if that makes sense. And that's pretty much all. In the next video, we are going to be looking at how to navigate the timeline, as well as how to use the clip editor. I'll see you there. Thank you so much for watching. It's Miffed Digital here. My name is Luke, and I'll be back with more videos coming soon. Goodbye all.